And go live. Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to a new video or new live video. I don't know if you guys can hear me, but if you can, please let me know. What I'm going to do is just tune in live on my iPad right here, so that I can just be sure that you guys are seeing me, and I can also join the live chat right here. Just going to join the live chat. So if you guys have any questions, then you can just shoot me a question and I would answer while I'm doing this. By the way, today I am going to be giving you guys a quick introduction to Capture One, and I want to try and do lives as regularly as possible, which means once a week or once every 2 weeks or once every 3 weeks. I hope you guys can hear me. If you can hear me, give me a thumbs up. I think we've got about 17 people watching now. If you can hear me, give me a thumbs up, or just comment. Let me know that you can hear me and you can see me clearly, right? Okay, great. So today's video is all about Capture One. Now over a period of time, I've realized that a lot of people want to switch to Capture One, but they find it difficult to make that switch because they're coming from Lightroom and they think the interface is not intuitive, or it's harder to use. Obviously, when you've not learned how to use something, or you've used the particular software for such a long time, it's difficult to switch to something else, right? Now, I use Capture One and I've been using Capture One for a very long time now. I think about 4 or 5 years, right? And it's such an amazing software, especially for portrait photographers. And I always advise anybody that is into portrait photography, probably weddings, to give it a try. Just try out Capture One. And like I said, it's difficult for a lot of people to get into. So that's what I want to do today. I want to make it easy for you guys. I want to make this a really short live. So when I mean short live, I'm talking about 30 minutes or less. So hopefully I'll be able to make that happen today. I'm going to keep my iPad right here so I can see all the live chats. Okay, great. We got Destiny here. Let's get creative. We got Aid, Michael Laded. We got Marvin Photography, man. Big shout out to every single one of you guys for joining. I really appreciate it. Give this video a thumbs up. You guys rock, man. You guys all rock. Okay, great. So Capture One is basically a raw processing software. It's like Lightroom, or it's like Adobe Camera Raw. Now I don't know. I can't remember who made it. Can't remember what company makes Capture One. Don't know. Doesn't matter. That company out there, and they create a software that I think is amazing. Like I said, for portrait photographers, right? I think this Capture One was made for medium format cameras at first, and then gradually it's been moved on to a place where other cameras can use the software, right? Okay, great. Now, when you get Capture One, for the most part, I'm just going to switch this. What you guys are going to see when you open Capture One is something like this. It's a window like this, right? And when you have a window like this, the first thing I always do is I'm just going to move myself. I don't know if you guys can see down here, but there are catalogs, right? And there are sessions in Capture One. Now, as a portrait photographer, I mostly use sessions and not what do you call it? And not catalogs. But if you do weddings and a lot of all that stuff, then you can use catalogs. I've never used catalogs in Capture One, so I'm not going to teach what I do not know. I basically use sessions. So right now I'm going to click on new session, and when I click on new session, it brings out like this box here, right? And it just asks me where I want to save the session. So for this, I'm just going to name it YouTube Live. I'm just going to name this YouTube Live. Now, this is basically just the name of your session, right? Now, in your session, and this is the location where you save your session. Now, in your session, what Capture One does is that it creates 4 folders for you. Basically, the first folder is your capture folder, the second folder is your select folder, the third one is your output folder, and the fourth one is your trash folder. Your capture folder, because Capture One was built for tethering, right? Where you would connect your camera directly to your PC, and whatever pictures you're taking goes directly into your PC and in Capture One that you can see. It creates like a capture folder for you. So whatever you capture can move in there. So even if you do not shoot with your with tethering, right, and you shoot with your memory card, when you import those images, it's advisable to put those images in your capture folder, right? Then you have your select folder where you you can easily move your selected photos to. So if you are picking, let's say you've done a photo shoot of about 200, 300 photos, 1,000 photos. If you're like some people, you shot 10,000 photos as a session. Look, it's okay. The good thing about Capture One is you can you can easily move those pictures that you want, the ones you want to work on. Wow, can't believe I said gently. You can easily move those photos that you want to work on to your selects folder, right? And then you have your output folder. So what that just means is output. So anytime you export a photo, it goes to your output folder, right? Okay, great. Then you have your trash. So when you delete a photo, it goes to your trash. Simple, very easy, right? These are the 4 folders that Capture One creates for you. So I'm just going to click OK, and Capture One is going to just give me this whole screen right here that you can see. Okay, great. Just going to move myself down here so I am not disturbing you guys from seeing Capture One. Okay, great. So now that we are in Capture One, the first thing I want to do is show you guys how to import in Capture One, because I feel like that's really important. You have to bring your images into Capture One, right? If you can hear me, if you can still see me, gives you a thumbs up, comment, let me know that you guys can see me and you guys are learning. Let's go, people. Okay, great. So the first thing you want to do is learn how to import in Capture One, because like I said, you have to bring your photos into Capture One, right? So just go to import, and when you go to import, it opens this whole box for you. Now I know this seems, I don't know, like a lot, but it's okay. We're going to go through it. You don't need to know everything in Capture One. You just need to know the basic things in Capture One, and that way you'd be able to use the software. It's just going to be simple for you. Let me just put it that way. Okay, great. So you go to choose, and when you go to choose, you go to the folder that you want to bring your images from. If you have a hard drive, or your folders are in your photos are in your memory card, just select your memory card. For this particular live session, I'm just going to go to my documents, and I'll select these 2 photos, then review for import, right? Then what Capture One does is that it brings the images in. So if there are 1,000 images, you see all of them, and then you can select whatever images you want to import into Capture One and then import them. Now it's going to ask you what destination you want to import your photos to, right? I would say import it to the capture folder all the time. Just make sure you put it in the capture folder. Don't put it in the sessions folder, because you would still have your capture and your capture would be empty. So put it in your capture folder, and that's all you need to do. You can back up to if you want. You can rename it if you want, and add some adjustments, whatever it is. But for the most part, this is just all I do in Capture One, and then I'll import these images, right? Okay, great. Now, that's the first thing you've learned how to do in Capture One, right? Import images. Now you have your images here. Now with Capture One, there are different options that you can use for your workspace, right? You have your default, you have your simplified, you have your wedding, migration, all this stuff. But I just use the default workspace because it's just really easy to use and it is very straightforward. Okay. Now, this is not going to be like an in-depth video on everything Capture One, because Capture One is such a powerful tool that I personally do not still know my way around the whole of Capture One, but I use it regularly, and I use it to retouch or prep my raw images for retouching, and it does an amazing job, right? So I'm going to teach you, like I said, it's beginner's level, right? Just very beginner friendly. That's what we're doing right here. So what we're going to do is walk through everything that you can see in Capture One. So right here, we have your import and we have your export right next to it. We have your capture. So if you are tethering, then you use your capture. So this can trigger your camera directly from Capture One. Then you have live. So live is a new thing that Capture One has, that you can share your sessions live with somebody else in probably another part of the world, and what they can easily do is just log into their browser and see exactly what it is. So let's say you're working remotely for a client that is in the US, and you're in Africa, or you're working remotely for a client that is in the US and you're in Canada, right? It's just going to be easy for you to show your client the sessions and show them the photos, and that way they can decide that, hey, I don't really like this, or I really like this, so let's just stick with this style, right? It's very, very, it's a very nice thing to have, right? Then have your reset button. So for example, you made a couple adjustments and you want to take everything out, just reset it. You have your redo, you have your undo, then you have your auto adjust. Now I never use my auto adjust, so don't do that, right? And up here you have your cursor tools. So basically you have your select, and then you have your move to select folder, you have your remove, and you have your hand tool, which is basically just to move things around, pan and all that. Then you have your zoom in, zoom out, loop. Never use the loop tool, never. But maybe if you learn Capture One and you're really good at it, that's something that you can use. Then you have your crop tool, you have your rotate tool. What is this? You have your keystone vertical, which I really do not use. You have your brushes. We'll get into that. That's a little bit more advanced, right? In Capture One. You have your healing and a bunch of other things, that white balance, color picker tool that you probably not use for like the longest time. Copy adjustment, paste adjustments that you use for, but you have that up here too. So and then draw annotations, which I've never used before. So like I said, there are a lot of things in Capture One that you might not need to use, but there's still a few things that you need to use. So you have your before and after, you have your grid, you have your exposure warning. This is really good, and we're going to get into that. You have your focus mask. This is also good. I'm just going to show you what it does right now. So whenever I click my focus mask, what it does is that I think it uses the sharpness of the image to tell you the places of that image that are in focus, which is really cool. So if for some reason you are going through like a lot of pictures, you can just use this to easily know what part of your image is in focus, and that way when you're curling your images, you can just take things out and leave things without actually having to worry about if the images that you've picked are actually in focus, right? So that's like a really neat tool to have. Then you have your just learn Capture One stuff there. Then copy and apply. So copy and paste, right? Okay, so that's everything up top. Right here on the right, we have our images. Here on the left is what we're going to focus on right now. I hope you guys are following, and I hope you guys understand everything I'm saying. Okay, great. Like I told you guys before, you have your capture folder, you have your select output, your trash folder, and then you have your 5 stars, whatever. So these are like in your session. But basically, we're going to be working in our capture folder, right? Now, the good thing about Capture One is, even though we do have our select folder, right, we don't need to move things to our select folder. We can easily just rate our images. So if I really like this image, by the way, these images were shot by a photographer called Shubila. She's an amazing photographer in Toronto, so you guys should definitely check her out. I'll put her Instagram handle in the description below after this, so check out Shubila. I think it's Shubila K, but just put Shubila on Instagram and you see her. Amazing photographer. Right, okay, great. So if I want to rate this particular image, let's say I love this image more than the other 50 that I've shot, all I have to do is press 1. And when I click 1, if I go down here to my ratings, you can see that it's the only photo that is in 1 now. And if I go up to none, you can see that we have this photo here. If I want to rate this photo 2 and I like it more than any other one, I can move it down to 4, and we have everything here. Now I can just go to none, double click none, and then I have all my images here, and as you can see, they are all rated. This is rated at 4, and this is rated at 1. So it's very simple way of curling your images. All you have to do is just use your keyboard, press 1, 2, 3, or 5 for different images, and then you're good to go, right? So if we move to the next tab here, it is basically this is our tether station. So if you're tethering from your camera, this is what you're going to be using. So it's going to ask you where you want to set your capture location as, the name, the formatting for your name and everything. Then if your camera is connected, you can check your camera settings, you can check your camera focus and all that stuff. So pretty neat, right? But we can't do that now because we're not tethering. And then we have our lens correction. Whenever you shoot the camera, because of the data that are in the photos, Capture One recognizes the images or the camera that your image was shot with, and then it would apply a few of these things to it. It just depends on you. If this is what you're into, then you can do all that in here, right? But these are the main things here. These 2 tabs right here are the main things. So the first one is basically, I think this is your color tab. Yes, this is your color tab, and you have everything here from your white balance to basic characteristics. But I don't use that. I don't need to know the camera I was shot with, because for the most part I already know, and all that stuff. So I just turn, close that. But you have your white balance, you have your color editor. In your color editor, you have skin tones, you have advanced, and then you have basic, right? We'll get into all that. And then down here you have your color balance, which is basically your three-way color tool. Then you have black and white, then you have normalize, which I barely use. Sometimes I use black and white, right? And then when you move to the next place, which is your exposure, right? Your exposure tab, you have your histogram, so you can see how properly your images are exposed. You have your layers. So the good thing about Capture One is, in a way, it's almost like Photoshop, that you can create different layers, reduce the opacity of your layers, and add things like stack things up in your layers. That's one really cool thing about Capture One that I like, right? And then, you have your style brushes, which I've not gone into using. Once I figure that out, I'll do another video and show you guys how that works. Then you have your white balance, your exposure, your dynamic range. This is like your shadows, highlights, and all that. Then, obviously you have clarity, dehaze, levels. Another thing that Capture One has is your curve. So you have your typical RGB curve, and then you have your Luma curve. So your RGB curve, like your curve will affect everything. Your Luma curve will just not affect the colors and just affect, I would say, the luminosity of your image. So that's like the highlights and the shadows, brightness, and all that stuff. Then you have your vignetting, right? Then right here you have your sharpening and all that stuff, noise reduction, film grain on this tab. Then here you have your styles and presets. So if you have Capture One styles, by the way, I have some free Capture One styles, so you guys can go check those out. You can use them to retouch your edit your images, or color grade your images. By the way, they're really good, so check those out. And then you have your metadata right here. So like I said, Capture One is really cool. It's such a nice tool to use, and if you know all these things, then it's just easy for you to get into Capture One and understand where everything is. That way you don't have to feel intimidated by the interface, right? Okay, great. So how's it going? You guys still here with me? Hopefully you guys are. Okay, great. So what we're going to do right now is, let's say we want to work on an image, and I have rated this image. So I'm just going to go to 4 right now, and I'm going to click on this image right here, right? Now, this is the image that we are working on today. And the first thing I want to do with an image like this is work on the exposure, right? And with Capture One, it's very easy. I can just come here with my levels, drag my whites in, and my image becomes brighter. Now the good thing about Capture One, I remember I told you guys about the exposure warning, right? When I toggle on my exposure warning, Capture One tells me the parts of my images that are getting overexposed by putting this red thing on the parts that are getting overexposed, right? So I can correct that and not blow out, certain parts of my images. So that's one really cool thing about exposure warning when you're working on Capture One. We have a high dynamic range tab, so I can easily just pull up my shadows to, like a respectable level somewhere around here. And, that's fine. I still feel like that's too much. So maybe like a 7 will work for an image like this. I can work on my exposure, just make the image a bit brighter. That's another thing. Then, for let's say we want to do something a little bit more complicated in Capture One, right? We can work on her skin tone. Let's say we want to even out her skin tone in Capture One. That's really easy to do, right? All we have to do is just create a new layer, and for our layer we're going to name this skin tone. Just simple, right? And then we'll come down to our color editor right here. Remember when I told you about the color editor? We have basic, we have advanced, we have skin tones, right? And what I'm going to do is click on my color picker tool and pick a part of her skin, right? And then I will adjust my hue and saturation. Basically, I'm just doing this because nothing is like showing on this image right now because our layer is empty. So what I can do is just pick up a brush. So I'll just press B for brush, and I'm going to paint this over my subject. Now I'm just going to do like a very shabby job here, and just get her skin, probably like her lips and teeth and all that stuff. Just trying to show you guys how this works basically. All right, okay, great. So now that we've selected all this, if I show you the before and after, before, just look around here. You can see that she has some redness in her skin, right? And let's look at after. You can see that I've taken out a few of those redness, and the whole skin looks pretty even, right? So maybe take my saturation down, just work on it. This is something that, I mean, you should definitely work on your own at home, and you'll be able to see difference a lot more. So one way I can show you like the major difference is she had like red on her cheeks because blush, right? And if I take this off, you guys can see the redness on her cheek come back, and the redness right here around her shoulders, her shoulder blade and all that. And if I take it back, you can see that it has disappeared, and the whole skin tone is just one uniform color right now, right? So this is part of like the things you can do in Capture One that just it just makes everything really easy, like uniformity. Then with the layers here, I can easily just reduce the opacity of the layer, and that way I'm going to reduce the effect, right? Another thing I can do is click on E to pick my eraser tool, and right here, if I click on this right here, it brings up my brush settings or my eraser settings, right? And I can increase the hardness of my brush, reduce the hardness of my brush. I can increase the size of my brush, reduce the size of my brush. I can increase the flow and the opacity of my brush. Right now it's my eraser, so you guys can see I can just come here if I want to paint the blush back in, and just reduce that. So it's almost like working with a layer mask in Photoshop, and it's extremely easy to do. All you have to do is just understand how to create your layers, and then jump into your advanced settings and just work on that. Right now, let's say for some reason we are trying to add a certain color to just a part of this image. Let's say we want to change the color of this right here. We can just go to our advanced, create a new layer, right? Then pick this color right here, and this is what this would do. Then we can increase the range that this is going to affect right here. Very simple, easy stuff, right? And then because we created a new layer, what we can do is just pick a brush, then we can check our brush settings if we want to take our flow down, take our opacity down, whatever it is we want to do, take our hardness down or leave our hardness up there. And then I can just paint over this thing right here. Now, I'm pretty sure some Capture One experts will know how to do like a way better job of this, but I'm not an expert. Just use Capture One for portraits. And what I can do is just mess with my hue saturation slider here. As you guys can see, it's changing colors. So let's say I want to take it from where it is, to somewhere around here. And what I've done is just change the color of this piece that is here. So, I can still paint in some more. So you guys can see our piece right here. Then come to my adjustment, show my before and after. So that's before. You guys can see it was very brown and nice, and now it looks I'd say it looks more purple, right? Yeah. Sorry, I might seem colorblind. I think I can do this for the hair too, so I can just paint this over the hair if for some reason I want to change the hue of her hair, because I feel like it falls into the same category, right? Let's see if that'll work. Yeah, it worked a little bit, even though it looks terrible, but you guys get the idea, right? So that's like the whole thing about using like your color editor. You can just go in and use it with your adjustment layers, and just like the possibilities are endless because you have like masking, right? So it's easy for you to just um take colors out, put colors back, change the hue and saturation of colors and all that in your image. It just gives you limitless opportunities when it comes to like working, on things like this, right? Um okay, great. So I'll turn off this, and this looks weird, so I'm just going to delete that layer. See, that's one thing you can do. You can just delete the layer too. Okay, great. So now we are still in our color tab, right? And one thing we can do is go to our color balance and work on our three-way color corrector, right? Now with your three-way color corrector, Jesus, man, English can be hard. you have your shadows, you have your midtones, you have your highlights. So what you can do with this is just color grade like you are color grading a video, because these were more popular in video editors before, and it's in Capture One now. I don't know if it's in Lightroom, but if it's in Lightroom, kudos to Lightroom too for bringing this in. So what I can do right here is just with my shadows, I can add more. Um, by the way, sorry, I'm working on this. So I'll just go back to my background layer. What I can do right now is just add some blues to my shadows, as you guys can see, or I can add some greens to my shadows. Now, once I've done this, what I can do is reduce the saturation using this slider right here, right? Once I've picked the spot, so let's say it's blues I want to add, right? And I've picked that spot. What I can do is I can use this slider to add more blues, or saturate my blues, or I can use it to reduce the saturation of my blues to 0, right? So let's say we're trying to add some reds to the shadows, can do the same thing. That looks really cool. I like this looks cool. Add some reds to the shadows, everything looks a lot more fiery, right? So let's see our before. Simple tool right here, before and after. Then your before and after, you also have your split view, if that's one thing you're into, and you can easily drag like this to see what your image looks like. But I don't like split view that much. I like full view, so this after, right? Then we can go to midtones, and we can work on our midtones too. So for our midtones, let's say we want to add well, since her skin tones are majorly in like the um midtones, we're just going to make that warmer. Then we can go to our highlights, and we can add some nice blues to our highlights, something like that, right? Okay, great. So basically that's our three-way color corrector, right? Now, the another thing about Capture One that is easy to do is, instead of coming all the way here to see your before and after with everything that you've worked on, you can easily hold Option or alternate on PC and click this right here and hold it down. So when you click this right here and you hold it down, that's this reset button right here. What it does is that, because you're holding Option or alternate on PC, what it does is that it just gives you like a quick preview of what it looked like before you made these adjustments. Once you take your hands off it, it goes back to exactly where it was before or after you've made the adjustment. So that's a quick way to see your before and after in every different tab that you've worked on, right? So for the most part, this is Capture One. Okay, this is our Luma curve. So let's just play with our Luma curve. Like I said, with our Luma curve, what this does is that it just affects the luminosity of your image. So that's like the highlights and the shadows. So it's easy for you to just color grade with this, and it's not going to affect the color. So this is what this looks like right now. If for some reason, I'm just going to reset this, we went to our RGB curve and we did the same thing, you guys can see it just looks different, because this is really affecting the reds too, right? And let's just say the other colors. So I really like using the Luma curve. It's just it's just um it's just nice. Now if I need more saturation after using my Luma curve, I can just come in here and just punch in some more saturation into our image, which I don't think I really need for this image. So again, we'll see our before and our after, and as you guys can see, we are making some key adjustments. So you can do things like things like whiten the teeth in Capture One. That should be easy. I've never done it before, but I mean, that should just be creating a new adjustment layer and just naming it white. Let's just name it white for the sake of this video. Jeez, Prince. Or just name it teeth. Make up your mind, Prince. Okay, great. So we're just going to name this teeth, right? Mr. Boyd reacts. He says, "I love that you're doing more lives. Thanks, Mr. Boyd. Really appreciate it. If you guys have any questions, man, hit me up in the comments below. Let me know. All right. Okay, great. So now that I've created like a new teeth, what we can do is just we can just zoom in and pick our brush tool, reduce our brush size. By the way, today I'm not using my Wacom, just my mouse, because it's Capture One, and just paint over this like this. I mean, when you're doing it, just be better than this. Like, take your time. Okay, great. So what we can do right here is increase our shadows. So that's just going to make the teeth brighter, right? And what else? What else? What else can we do? Can we reduce our Kelvin for this part? Reduce our Kelvin, right? Okay, and then maybe just add some grains are too much. Not too much magenta. So something like that, right? So let's zoom out now. So you guys can see, just like that. With this, we've gotten the teeth to look white. I feel like we can paint the same thing into like her eyes, right? So just brush, and then we're going to paint this into her eyes too. Hopefully that will not be too much. Into the white, right? Okay, great. We've done that too. You know, so you guys can see this is our before, right? And this is our after. Like the image is moving on, and everything that we've done is just in Capture One. I feel like you can even go ahead, right, with this to do micro dodge and burn. Yeah, but I'm not gonna do that. But yeah, so like there is so much that you can do with Capture One. It is. I mean, like these tools are just that they're limited by your imagination basically when it comes to processing raw files, right? So you can easily crop for Instagram. So I think Instagram is 4 by 5, right? So you can crop for Instagram and just create like a small tiny crop for Instagram. See, um, that's a terrible crop, Prince, but so you can go back to the original, just double click, and takes you back to the original image. So like I said, Capture One is very intuitive. There's one last thing I like to talk about. I don't know how long I've been on for, but I said I was not going to be on for too long with Capture One, because this is just basics. This is just understanding the basics of Capture One and just letting you guys know that it's not that difficult to use. All you have to do is just import your image into Capture One, and then you have all the tabs that you need on your left to work with, and you can select your images on your right, and you have some tiny things up here like your reset button, your select tool, hand tool, your crop, your zoom in and out, and you can all map these to like shortcuts. So I think your select tool is V, your brush is B, your eraser is E, your crop tool is C. So it's just like very simple and intuitive to use, right? And up here you can customize your toolbar. So for example, I think you can just move things in and out of your toolbar. So I can just move things up here and just leave it there. And if I don't want it, I can just, take it out and it goes away, right? Simple. One thing I like to talk about is how to export. So, like the way I export is I'll just go click on export, and it brings up these things that Capture One calls recipes. And the good thing about it is that right here you have a few, but you can always create like a new recipe, right? Or like the ones that Capture One has already created for you. And all you have to do sometimes is come in and customize. So if I come in here and I click on this, right, this is the recipe that is going to use right now, and I can easily customize it and say, okay, I want the quality to be 11, I want the quality to be 80, I want sRGB, I want Adobe RGB, my pixels per inch, I want to take it to 300, whatever it is, and also choose wherever I want to export it to. So for this one, it's the sessions default output folder, right? And if these are, like everything, by the way, you can select a few more that you would want to export with. I'm just going to click on export right now, and it will export that image, and it will prompt me that image has been exported, I guess. Jeez. Capture One, why you do me like this? Didn't prompt me. But yeah, so right now I have my exported image in my output folder, and yeah, it's just really simple. Capture One is very simple and easy to use. By the way, if you rate your images in camera, when you bring it to Capture One, those ratings will stay, in your images. So you can easily still rate your images in camera. When you bring to Capture One, you see still your ratings, right? So, if someone says, is there an instance where you would work in Capture One first, then to Lightroom, or Lightroom Capture One for presets that you have in Lightroom, for instance? I don't think there's an instance right now that you can do that. I'm not 100% sure, to be very honest. But for the most part, Capture One has a lot of presets and a lot of styles too. And whatever you have done in Lightroom, it's easy to replicate in Capture One. I'll probably say for a lot of things, it's even easier, right? Now, I know Lightroom for color grading too can be really easy because I use Lightroom mobile. But Capture One is very easy and intuitive, and there are a lot of styles online for Capture One that you can check out too. So maybe you probably just need to get out of your comfort zone if you're planning to use Capture One and check out those other styles down online, and you might find something that works better than what you already have. Who knows? Um, so at this point, I'm just going to say if you guys have any questions, please let me know. I'm just going to go through the live comment sessions here. Well, geez, why am I moving away from my mic? Live comment section here, and there are no questions. So if you guys have any questions, please feel free to ask me before I jump out and disappear from here. But for the most part, this is Capture One. It is very simple and very easy to use. Like I said, all you have to do is just understand how to import your images, understand where things are, and how to use those things. And yeah, there are a lot of things that you might not need to use in Capture One. Capture One is different for different people. Somebody that works on majorly product photography might not use Capture One the way I use it, but there's a few things that you'd still need to know in Capture One: how to um import, how to sort through your files, knowing where your files are and where your files have gone to, how to work on your exposure, how to probably color grade. One other thing I didn't talk about is just sharpening your image. So you have it here, so you can just sharpen your image as much as you want to. I think I am still in my output folder, so I'm going to go back to my capture folder and work on my raw file. So you can sharpen your images as much as you want to. I tend not to sharpen my images a lot, right? You can add some film grain to your images, some fine grain. So you can just go to harsh grain, and then you can select how much impact you want it to have and how much the granularity should be. All these things are like things that are like just easy in Capture One to do. Will the video be saved on YouTube? Prince, yes, the video will be saved. Most of the lives I do will be saved on YouTube, and you can just go in and watch it again. So yeah, that's about it. This is this week's live video. So hopefully I'll be able to do a live video next week. I'm working on something that is really interesting where I'll bring two photographers in, and these photographers will talk about there are different tools that they use and why they use those tools, and argue about why. Well, argue in a friendly way, right? And in an informative way on why their tools are better than the other person's own, especially for what they do. And that would give you an idea of what to invest in if you are looking to invest in either Capture One or Lightroom. Maybe like Canon or Nikon, maybe like the R5 versus the R6, just things like that. Just make the channel a lot more fun and bring more people in here. And the process of having these discussions, you might learn a thing or two, or understand why you are leaning towards a particular brand or a particular type of camera over the other one. But yeah, can we tag you on your story after we try working on ours? I don't know what that is, but this photo was shot with an R6, I guess. And yeah, key presets. What do you mean by key presets? I don't know. Did I say anything about keeping presets? Sorry, please rephrase that question before I jump out of here. But yeah, like I said, for the most part, there are a lot of presets for Capture One out there. They call them Capture One styles. I have some for free, so you can check that out. Also, just quick, shameless plug. Get my Retouching Essentials pack. It is amazing. It'll help you retouch in Photoshop better and faster. Get my skin tone lots if you are trying to color grade in Photoshop. I am working on skin tone lots for Capture One, and they'll be coming very soon. So keep your eyes peeled on that. And then also I have my Retouching Masterclass, which is a retouching course that will help you go from wherever you are right now to a whole new level. Trust me, it is 100 over 100 for anybody that's taking that course. So if you are looking to improve your retouching, check out the Beauty Retouching Masterclass. Links are in the description below. If you are looking to improve only your micrododge and burn, check that out. Links are in the description below. Just head over to the preset. We don't have a lot of channel sponsors. Well, we've never had a channel sponsor here. So everything that keeps this channel going is your support. So thank you so much for supporting me and always being here for me and watching my videos. I mean, this is your data. Thank you. Anyways, I'll see you guys in the next live video. I hope you guys learned a lot today, and this is just going to make this is going to be like, or this introduction on Capture One will help you use Capture One better, right? If you have any other questions, just hit me up, and I'll talk to you guys later. This is the end of today's live video, man. Have an amazing week, guys. Peace out.